Welcome to the Inner Coach Classroom with me, Emma Benyon, a multi-certified coach and educator with over 13 years of experience within the education sector. This podcast is all about helping educators and leaders build their inner coach so they can become confident, self-aware, and transform how they work and lead. If you are an educator or leader, then you are in the right place for coaching, mindset, and reflection. So let's dive into today's episode, all about self-coaching for leadership. And we're talking about something that I wish every new and experienced leader learned earlier. Leadership starts with yourself. Before you guide others, before you make decisions, hold space, or manage challenges, your self-awareness, emotional regulation, and inner coach are doing the real leadership work behind the scenes. Leadership absolutely starts with leading yourself. Leadership isn't just a job title, it's an internal practice. And before you influence others, you have to influence your own thoughts, emotions, and reactions. Because self-coaching is the quiet foundation of leadership confidence. When you manage that internal world, your external leadership becomes clearer, calmer, and more grounded. And something to remember is that you can't lead from chaos on the inside. Self-leadership has to be the anchor. Now, often educators or leaders who step into potentially more senior leadership roles often face emotional responsibilities they were never prepared for, such as, holding the team's emotions and creating psychological safety, being the safe person, carrying any potential organizational tension, managing conflict, pressures on decisions, feeling responsible for people in the team or the colleagues' well-being, and potentially feeling pulled between what the team or the people you are leading want and what the organizational needs. And that emotional load is heavy because as leaders, you're navigating expectations, projection, scrutiny, visibility. And very rarely does any leadership training actually address that emotional self-management, developing your ability to regulate your emotions, building that inner coach and self-awareness. Yeah, I want to take a note here that actually that emotional load and feeling overwhelmed by that, it doesn't mean you're not coping. It means you're human. And these are skills that we can learn. And then there's often, that pressure to always be available. Leadership can often build on helpful beliefs like I should always be available. People need me. If I don't respond now, I'm not supportive. I can't set boundaries. I'm the leader. And those beliefs can create burnout, resentment, people pleasing, unclear communication, emotional depletion. And the truth, leaders with boundaries create healthier teams. Leaders who are always available end up emotionally unavailable because they're exhausted. Being constantly available doesn't make you a good leader. Being intentional does. And this is where self-coaching comes in, because that creates calmer, clear leadership. Self-coaching helps leaders regulate their emotions before responding, detach from urgency, make value-aligned decisions, reduce reactivity, manage those difficult conversations with calm, clear conversations, build trust through consistency, and navigate stress without passing it downwards to colleagues or students. It's that shift from fixing to empowering. And when leaders build those self-coaching skills, when they build their inner coach, they respond instead of react. They communicate from clarity. They avoid spiraling into that self-doubt. They stay grounded in their purpose and their direction. And they lead with steadiness, not panic. And that creates, that's psychological safety for teams, for colleagues, for students. And I just want to pick up on, one of those points, that value-led decision-making. One of the most powerful self-coaching tools that we can use to build our inner coach is, choosing things from value, not pressure. Our values act like an internal compass. Is this decision aligned with who I want to be as a leader? Is this choice grounded in clarity or fear? What value is this boundary supporting? Those values bring consistency, integrity, and simplicity to leadership. And there isn't just values that we have or hold in our leadership or educational roles. We also hold those values in our businesses, in our personal lives, in our families as well. And so exploring our values is really important here, because that really helps us to lead with intention. So I want to share a self-coaching question. So you might want to grab your journal or just take a moment to pause on it. And this is all about, helping leaders move away from, pleasing everyone, firefighting, fixing, reacting, and moving towards a place of clarity, emotional regulation, aligned leadership, and sustainable decisions. So I want to encourage you to pause and ask yourself, what outcome do I want for me as a leader in this situation? And this helps to ground your decision in integrity rather than pressure. Think about how it links to your values. Think about how it can come from a space of clarity and being grounded. And just remember to, as you develop these leadership skills, to lead from a space of compassion, and the rest will follow. And as you build your self-coaching skills, as you build your inner coach, that will help you to become the version of you that leads from grounded clarity, not pressure. And so I hope that episode has been really useful for you today. Thank you so much for listening. I would love to hear your reflections from this. So why not come and chat with me over on my socials on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn over at emmabenyon.coach. And if you did enjoy this episode, make sure you subscribe and follow so you don't miss the next one. Take a moment to share it with a friend or colleague, and also leave me a review. I would really appreciate it. Let's build your inner coach together, one episode at a time.